Hi guys, and welcome back to another video again with Powers. I'm Jake, and today guys, I'm gonna be giving you my review of 51st State, the Ultimate Edition from Portal Games. Alright guys, I'm sure you've seen a lot of videos on our channel of 51st State doing a couple solo variants and taking a look at some of the expansions. We're gonna have some more videos. We have one more solo variant and two more expansions to get through, so I'll probably just do a video of that solo variant and then going over the two expansions. Alright, but today we're going to talk about my review. I'm going to be giving my thoughts and opinions on the game 51st State Ultimate Edition. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump right in, guys, starting off with the theme here. I'm going to go ahead and give this theme an 8 out of 10, right? I think it's a very good theme. I think the theme of the game holds up really well across all of the playthroughs that you're doing, right? Taking a look at the solo mode, right? There's so many different variants to the solo mode itself, and so that in each solo mode is a different thematic theme going against a certain clan or a guild and utilizing what that guild does really well. So like, you know, for example, taking a look at the merchants solo variant, right? You're going against the Merchants Guild, who is all about deals. So what are they going to do? They're going to attack your deals, right? So I think that thematically holds up really well and is very good. In the actual game, again, it's using all of those different clans, and each of them have their own specific abilities. Like, they're going to get their own separate production. They're going to specialize in a certain thing. So again, going back to the Merchants Guild, right? They are going to be able to trade in a gas canister to get 3 blue contact tokens, where most guilds or clans are only going to be able to trade in a gas canister to get 2, or maybe you have to trade in 2 gas canisters to get 2 blue contact tokens. So each clan and guild in the game are going to be able to do their own separate thing with their own separate production, and so the theme of that holds really well with the game. And then of course it's an apocalyptic type game, right? So all of the cards and things that you're gonna play are very apocalyptic. It's very attacking, you know, guns, canisters, building things, raising things like that. So overall, 8 out of 10, very good theme here. All right, next up, guys, we're going to take a look at the components. I'm going to give the components a 7.5 here, right? I think these are pretty good generic components. Let's go ahead and jump down to the table, and while I continue to explain some of this, show off the components we got here. All right, guys, so here we are at the table where we got to take a look at these components real quick. So again, this box is very thick. You can see how thick this box is, guys, over here, and so just put it to the side. This is a pretty thick and hefty box. Taking a look at some of the components, again, I gave them a 7.5, right? I think they're good, but they're not very good, and I'll kind of explain why, right? Everything is just kind of generic, right? You have all the cards in the game are just generic cards that you would find in any board game. There's nothing special about them. The artwork here is really nice, okay? So that's why I would bump it up to that 0.5. Right, because of the artwork and the details on the cards, the iconography, everything looks very clear and crisp. Okay, but other than that, I mean, these are small, thin cards that are going to have some wear and tear. The other aspect is in this edition, guys, this is the Game Found edition, that they have wooden screen markers instead of the generic cardboard markers. Okay, so instead of these markers, you'll use the wooden ones. So that's kind of why I bumped it up, gave it a little 0.5 instead. But normally all these are just going to be wooden. This dice here is actually my dice. It does not come with the game, but these are just like a wooden first player token. All of your resources, guys, the actual resources themselves are going to be wooden and be screen printed. But do I think the screen printing is necessary? No, because you can clearly identify that that is a gun without needing the handle and the chamber, right? Like, even this is a worker. You can identify that this is a worker just without the mask, okay? And then the rest of these tokens are just generic cardboard, all right? And then lastly, taking a look at the, well, not lastly, but taking a look at the clans, the player boards, right? These are some pretty good sturdy player boards. So nice little thickness. These are not going to bend, break, or wear and tear a whole lot. So that's that. You got a nice little insert in here. to store everything. And then underneath you have all of the expansion cards and all of the expansion tokens as well, with a nice cool 51st player marker. All right, so that's all the components in the game, guys. Again, for me, this is a 7.5 out of 10. I think it's good, but it's not really very good, again, because everything is just average. The cool little pips to it are obviously the insert, being able to organize all of my cards, right? You get the wooden markers from the Game Found Edition and the screen printed resources here in regards to that. So that's where I would say it's giving me the bump up to a half, but not quite at that level of 8. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and move on to the setup. So I'm gonna go ahead and give the setup an 8 out of 10 here. I think this is a very good setup. It's actually very quick. You know, just taking a look at the base game, you're gonna bring out the scoreboard and just place that out there. Each player is gonna select their faction board. You're gonna just put your resources out to the side, get your cards, shuffle them up, and then get your connection cards, and you're basically ready to play. I mean, this is around a 3 to 5 minute setup. Very quick, very simple, very easy. If you want to add an expansion in, all right, that might take a little, 2 or 3 more minutes of a little bit of setup, depending on what expansion that you're having. But really, you're just mixing those cards in together. So not really a whole lot, maybe like 30 seconds. And you're good to go. So 8 out of 10 for me. Very good setup here with 51st State Ultimate Edition. All right, moving on to the length here. All right, on the box, it says 60 to 90 minutes. All right, I'm gonna say that's about true, right? So 7 out of 10 for me. I think it's a good length to the game, right? It is true to what it says. At about 2 players, it's going to take you around 60 to 75 minutes. Around 3 or 4 players, it's going to take you around 90 minutes, maybe a little longer. Solo mode is going to take you around, 30 minutes to 50 minutes, depending on what solo mode you're playing and if you're using any expansions. So again, nothing really too great about it. It is the length that it says it is for what you're going to play, right? So 7 out of 10, good generic length for me. All right, moving on to the difficulty here. Reminder, guys, with all the difficulty, the lower the number, the easier we feel the difficulty is. The higher the number, the more difficult we feel the game is. So I'm giving this game a 4 out of 10 here. I think this game is very easy, right? But there are some types of complexity to the game. And so what do I mean by that? So let's start with why I think the game is easy, right? It's very simple. They got phases in the game, and in those phases, you're going to be drafting cards, and then during your actual turn, you have a bunch of different actions that you can take, right? The actions are very simple. I can either do one of 3 things with the card, okay? I can play the card in my tableau. If I have gray tokens, if I have red tokens, I can destroy this card from my hand or destroy one of my opponent's cards, as long as I have the required amount that I need and get the resources. Or if I have blue tokens, I can go ahead and make a deal with that card and put it in my thing and gain that in production every turn. All right, so that's what's pretty easy about the game. But where it gets complex is there's a lot of strategy, because you have to trade in a certain resource to be able to get a certain token. So like the gray, but I like how they're all color coded, so it's not really that bad. But a gear, which is gray, can only get you gray contact tokens. A gas canister, which is blue, can only get you blue contact tokens. And a gun, which is red, can only get you red contact tokens. All right, and so that's kind of how the game works. They also have additional tokens that you can get, but where it gets a little complex is your cards are going to have either an action, a feature, or a production, okay? And so, like, you're going to produce goods on your turn. You can spend those goods to take actions and do certain things. And so it can get a little overwhelming sometimes with just the amount of cards you have out in general and what each of those effects can do, and just kind of keeping track of that. Also, on your board, you can only do one of the actions that your board or player guild can do on a turn. So for example, it's like trading in a gas canister to get 3 red tokens, right? You can only do one of those things, so you got to mark it, and if you forget to mark it, then you might forget what you have done. All right, so that's where it can get a little confusing, but once you get the hang of it, it's really simple, it's really easy. So 4 out of 10 for me. I don't think this is really that difficult to grasp at all. All right, moving on to replayability. All right, well, look, it's the 51st Day Ultimate Edition. It's got every expansion in the game made for the game so far up to this point. Replayability, I'm giving this a 9 out of 10 here. Look, I think this is excellent replayability across the board. Doesn't matter if you're playing the base game or any of the expansions. It's just so much content in this game, in this Ultimate Edition, that the amount of times that every game is going to be different. No game is going to be the same. Again, you can just play the base cards and all those cards are going to be different, and then you're talking about adding in one of the 5 additional expansions that come into the game. Just content on replayability on replayability on replayability. All right, and what's cool is with those expansions, they add in different ways to play the game, right? Most expansions for games, right, might add in or change some things mechanically, right? With these, it's a completely different way to play the game. And so you might have a strategy and you are a part of a new expansion. So like, for example, it was there was one, I think it was the Scavengers expansion that I was playing, where that whole expansion is predicated on you want to get ruins in your state in order to gain victory points or do other things with your ruins. Normally, you don't want to destroy your buildings or anything like that, or have your opponent raise your buildings. So like, it was incentivizing you to get ruins in your building to create victory points. So the strategy components of every expansion change the game in a good way that just give you a different flavor than, most of the time when you're playing this game, you're trying to get a bunch of resources to be able to produce on your turn and then use those resources to spend actions to get you victory points and things like that. That's your normal strategy, right? With those expansions, it's so many different ways to like, okay, I need ruins now to get this, or I need allies to get this, or I can do machines in order to get victory points now. And so it's just different ways to incentivize different strategies, right? So 9 out of 10 for me. All right, guys, moving on to the next one, we got price. So I'm going to go ahead and give the price an 8 out of 10 here, but there's kind of a caveat with this. I think it's a very good price for what you can find it, but you have to get on the right website. Let's just put it like that, right? So let me just start with the actual price. So this is retailing at $90, okay? At $90, I don't think that's worth it for a game like this. Really, you're just getting a whole bunch of cards. Now, I'm not too sure if you're gonna get some of the Game Found exclusives, but even with the Game Found exclusives, with the screen printer meeples and the wooden markers, again, for $90, I would find it very hard pressed to, if I were to go back and do this again, I would not pay $90 for it. Now, that goes to my second point. I didn't pay $90, but I paid $85 for it. Okay, back this on Game Found for $85. I do think I overpaid for that price point, right? Just with everything and the content, and I feel like that. I don't really think it is worth it at $85. Yes, you're getting a ton of content, but again, it's all cards. Yes, the meeples are nice being screen printed, but other than that, it's not a necessity that these are screen printed. I don't see an advantage of them being screen printed over not screen printed, all right? So that leads me to the point of why I gave this an 8 out of 10. So you can actually find this game for around $62 right now. I have it written down. Miniature Market, Game Nerds, and Card House Games have this for $62, right around there, that you could pick up right now. I think at $62, right? $62, I think that's a very good price point for this game and what you are getting with all of the expansions and content, right? 60 to 65 bucks. If you can pick that up, I think that is a very good price point for this game. However, the retail price $90, I don't think it's worth it. All right, so moving on to my overall score. What am I giving this game? Okay, guys, so moving on to my overall score, right? I'm going to go ahead and give this a 7.5 out of 10, guys. I think this is a good game. I'm always willing to play this game, but it's right on that, right in the middle. I can't quite give it that 8, that very good theme, and that I'm always willing to recommend it to other people, right? Here's why. I think at the core of this game, I think this is a solo to 2-player game, right? Because the game it's going to take you a while, even at 2 players. It's going to be around 60, 75 minutes. You add in a 3rd player, that's going to make it around 75 to 90. And if you bring in a 4th player, I mean, that's really going to take it a long time, just because, again, whenever you take an action, it goes to the next person, to the next person, next person, right? So, I might want to do 10 things on my turn, and so that's going to be, somebody else might want to do 10 things, and so that's going to be 10 turns, essentially, before 1 round is over. And more than likely, it's going to take you a couple rounds before you can start getting cards that are going to score victory points, right? So that is what's going to take the game so long. All right. My other hesitation with the game is it just bothers me that I can't trade in resources. Like the resources to contact tokens, right? I get the point of the contact tokens, but it just makes an unnecessary step in the game that I don't feel is needed, because essentially what you have to do is, like I said, you trade those gears in to get the grade contact tokens. Then I gotta spend the grade contact tokens in order to build my location, right? Why can't I just trade in my 2 gears to build the location in regards to that? But then again, I see the point, because there are some cards that you trade in 1 gear in order to get 3 grade contact tokens. So doing it that way would completely change the game as a whole. But just for me and my personal taste, I do find that kind of annoying, because that is considered an action, right? Trading in a gear to get contact tokens. So I gotta trade in gear to get a contact tokens, wait until my turn comes back around, and then use those contact tokens to build that location. So again, I think it just makes the game even longer. But other than that, I think it's a fantastic game. This is coming from the same line as like Empires of the North, Imperial Settlers. And if I were to get to choose, I'm a huge fan of Empires of the North. I would actually prefer this game over Empires of the North, because I feel like it does run a little quicker than Empires of the North. So I would actually choose to play this over that. But that is my review, guys. 7.5 out of 10. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Be on the lookout for more 51st State Ultimate Edition content and more reviews coming your way. Go ahead and drop a like on this video, guys. If you backed or enjoyed 51st State, drop it in the comments below. As always, hit that notification bell so you can be notified when we drop new content. Trying to get you content out every single day. And as always, if you are not subscribed, subscribe to our channel, guys. All right, y'all have a great one. Bye.